ايه رأيكم؟ Hmm? What about you pick a topic? Which topic would you like? No. I want them to pick something relevant to them, to their life. It shouldn't be. وانت قلت لهم ايه طيب؟ In God's knowledge of the future, He knows whether we will pray or not. Right? So, if you say God is going to do whatever He likes anyway, because He knows what He's going to do. But because He knows what He's going to do and what's the decision going to be, then it's also based on His foreknowledge, which because He knows whether He will. Right? Does this make sense or no? And He knows whether He will. It's including decision. I asked Pope Shenouda the same question, and this is what his answer. He said because He knows whether you will pray or not beforehand, so you must pray. طب let me just briefly speak to you about what I was going to talk to you about briefly, and then we can have a discussion. Maybe this will encourage some to come up with questions. The reason why I wanted to talk to, thinking that maybe this is a group that is preparing hopefully in the next couple of years for marriage, to talk about our Christian understanding of marriage, and also to talk about some practical points. So when we speak about reasons for marriage. Why do people decide to get married? Because sometimes we feel that some people just get married because they feel this is the next step, right? So you finish school, you go to college, and then after college, what are you going to do? Find a job, and then the next thing, okay, find a spouse, get married, right? As if this is the proper course of life. But this decision is a big decision in life, and you have to take this decision seriously and properly. And in Christianity, we believe in two ways. It's either you want to be married, pick to be married because you feel this is your calling, right? Or you feel that you want to live a celibate life, and within marriage there is just the regular family life, and there is a special calling for priesthood. Have the majority of our priests are married, right? Which shows you that the church condones marriage and honors marriage because most of the priests are married. We only have very few unmarried priests. Even the bishop in the beginning was married as well. When you read the epistles of St. Paul, the bishop had to be the spouse of one woman, which means that he's married but not two. And if his wife dies, if he's married another marriage, second marriage, then he cannot become a bishop. But at least he was married, right? The bishop. But later on, they decided that it's better if the bishop is not married because his responsibility is huge, and it's better if he doesn't have extra responsibilities. This was the idea. So, or you can decide, no, I want to remain celibate and consider that Christ is my groom, and that's it. And this goes both for males and females. But for those who decide they want to get married, I want you to think that it's not because this is the next thing to do that then I will get married. You have to understand the responsibility that this entails. It's a big responsibility. It's not a joke, right? Because remember Pope Shenouda, he said, they asked him a question. They said to him, why do some marriages end for the most trivial reasons? And then the answer was what? Because the marriage happens for the most trivial reasons, right? Why does divorce happen for the most trivial reasons? The answer is because marriage, to start with, happened for the most trivial reasons, which means it's not based on the rocks. Remember the Lord Jesus Christ in the Sermon on the Mountain, in the end of the Sermon on the Mountain, he said what? Every house that's built on the rocks, the waves will come and will never destroy it. So if our houses, that's why we say houses of prayers, houses of purity, houses of blessing, if they are houses built on the rocks, and you know the rock is Christ, right? If our houses are built on rocks, then they are going to be strong houses and withstand the storms and waves, etc. And because sometimes we don't understand the relationship within marriage and the responsibility that it entails, then our marriages may, which is an unfortunate situation, because that's why we are thinking clearly in the clergy meeting to have a preparatory course for those who are seeking marriage. It's like a marriage prep course that any couple who intend to get married should go through before they can get married. Then we will generalize this to all churches. So it's not some specific churches that do that, but all the churches. So when they teach this subject, they say there are five reasons why a person may want to get married, right? 5. And I want you to memorize the 5 points, not mean the details you can listen to, but the points I want you to memorize. Ready? We'll take them one by one. I'll make the list first and then we'll discuss them one by one. The first one is spiritual love. Okay. Number 2, help. Number 3, procreation. Number 4, more saints. Number 5, prevention from sin. Right? One more time. Yeah, you can look at it from the positive aspect. Okay, these are the 5 points. We'll discuss them to understand. Number 1, the spiritual love. Why do we stress the spiritual love? Because sometimes when we pick the wrong way. How? We look at the beauty. So if you are attractive or you are attracted to someone because of their looks, this is a guarantee that this is not the right way to choose. Why? Simply because you are just looking at the outside without really searching the inside. Who is the person? The person is not the body. The person is the spirit inside. Someone may be very attractive from the outside, but as a person is not attractive at all. Right? So that's why we focus on the spiritual beauty. Okay? The spiritual love. And we have a good example in the Bible, in the Old Testament, about someone who looked at the physical attraction, and that caused big problem, huge problem in the Old Testament. Do you remember the son of David the prophet? His name was Amnon, right? Absalom is involved. Absalom, he had a sister. What was her name? Tamar. Right? This story is in 2 Samuel chapter 13. So he loved, the Bible says he loved her, she was his half sister, right? At that time he could marry his sister. Now it's not allowed. But then he lusted for her. He didn't love her like spiritually. That's why I urge those who are really getting into a relationship to remain pure. Sometimes even when they are going out, getting to know each other and then getting engaged, they do wrong things. This is not right. Even if you are engaged, it's not right. Once you are married, then your body becomes or belongs to the other. because you become one body. This is our idea of one body. This is what we read, and we say in the crowning ceremony, that your body no longer belongs to you, but you're the other. But up until this point, no one should touch you, even if you are engaged to live a pure life till that time. So he loved her according to the expression in the Bible. But what kind of love? Not the spiritual love, just the lustful love, the desireful love, the kind of love that wants to take, not to give. And because of that, the Bible explains the result of that love, or what's so-called love. So I'll read just one verse for you, and you can read it at home. Chapter 13, 2 Samuel. It's very important. It says here, then Amnon hated her exceedingly, so that the hatred with which he hated her was greater than the love with which he had loved her. Can you imagine? Can you call that love? Of course it's not, because once he got what he wanted, then he doesn't want her anymore. I read this book about magic, and then the writer wrote, you can say I love pizza. This was the example she gave. I love pizza, right? But what does it mean I love pizza? Because you love to eat pizza, but once you had your fill of pizza, then you hate pizza. You don't want to see it anymore. Because it's not really, we use sometimes this expression love in the wrong way. So true love has nothing to do with the physical involvement. You can love someone, in fact, because Plato, Plato is one of the philosophers, right? In the Greek philosophy, to know someone or to love someone has nothing to do with the physical aspect. Because to him, to love or to meditate, it's a mental activity. So, because he loved God so much, Plato, he was very spiritual, right? Plato, he was very spiritual, and he loved God, and he loved to meditate on God all the time. And that's why when two people love each other without any physical involvement, what do they call that? Platonic love. Have you heard of this expression before? Platonic love. Platonic love comes from Plato, because he had this spiritual love for God. So when two people have this kind of love, they call it platonic love. So, of course, we're not asking you to have the kind of love, but at least you have to pick right. You choose someone because of the spiritual love. You look at their spirit, the beauty of their spirits, not of the body. Of course, the physical attraction is important. No one can deny that. Like, you're not going to say, this person is an ugly person, but I will marry him anyway. No. You have to be attracted to them. But I mean, this is not the way to make your decision. The decision should be made based on the spiritual love, because the spiritual love is the one that will last forever, right? Because the physical attraction, or the body in itself, by age will get old, right? And it's no longer, and even the physical relationship by time, it diminishes, it doesn't stay constant. So imagine Tita and Giddu مثلا, for example, they don't have any physical attraction anymore, but they have this intense love for one another. They love each other so much, right? Because why? Because of them, so many years they lived together and they struggled in life together, right? They faced hard days, etc. So they have this great love for one another. But it has nothing to do with the body, of course. Questions in the end, okay? So this is the first reason, proper reason, yani. Number one, the what? The spiritual love. What was number two? Help. Why? Because when God created Eve, He said, that I will create for Adam an equal helper, equal. And that's why the fathers of the church say, why did God take Eve from Adam's side? He said, because he didn't want her to feel superior by taking her from his head, or inferior by taking her from the feet. But being in the side means that they are side by side, they are equal, right? So we believe in the equality, although there is different roles for each person, but they are equal in terms of their moral responsibilities and moral duties and moral rights as well in front of God. Okay, but to be a helpmate, both help each other. And the most important thing that they should help each other is what? The spiritual struggle, yes. It's not like we help each other financially. They both have to work now because you cannot live with one income, or to help each other, to support each other in the spiritual life, in the spiritual struggle, in the day by day, because sometimes you need. That's why it's very important. Why do you think we say you have to marry someone Orthodox, even if they are not Orthodox? They have to be baptized. Why? Because it's very important. As the goal of marriage is salvation, right? Because if you marry someone who's not Christian, then what's the point? Then each one will worship God in a different way. Doesn't work, right? So marriage is help. Each partner helps the other in their spiritual path, and that's why you have to marry someone who shares same ideas with you, same goals, same vision in life, etc. Right? So help in every aspect. And that's why it's very important for marriage. If we want to get into some details, see, when they love each other, then each one sacrifices for the other. Meaning, we don't say, you are the woman, you are responsible for the cleaning up, let's say. No, we share everything together, right? Especially now, if she goes out to work, then you have to help with other responsibilities, because it's all sharing together. We share life together. Okay. Number 3A, procreation. Obviously, if people don't get married, then there is no propagation of the human race, right? So it's very important. This shows you that we honor marriage, and church blesses marriages. Bless marriage because we have performed marriages. It's one of the sacraments of the church. Why? Because if people don't get married, then it's not going to continue. The race is not going to continue. His Holiness Pope Shenouda used to say, when he compared marriage and celibacy, he said, all the saints are the product of a blessed marriage. Right? And all the faithful are going in the paradise. Where? In the bosom of who? We say in the bosom of Abraham, Isaac and Jacob. Are they married or are they celibate? They are married, right? So all the saints are going to their bosom who are married. So I just want to stress the point that the church honors marriage, and don't think less. Like we don't think that marriage is the as they say the expression كده the lesser of two evil or something like that. Marriage is honorable. This is what St. Paul says. And it's not like, oh, I can't live up to the celibate life, therefore, yallah, let me get married. No, this is not the point, right? Marriage is honorable. It's a way of salvation, right? I don't want you to think, because sometimes in the church we speak a lot about celibacy and the life of the saints, and how many of the saints here are married, right? If you go around the church, how many are married? You will not find many, believe me. Sometimes you may not find any. Can you find someone who is married? Except St. Peter. ها؟ أهو حد married أهو. Yeah, that's a good example. See, just one in among what? 20 or 30. So what's the message here? The message here, although the celibates maybe represent 1% or less of the population, but the majority of them are the saints. So you have the message as if marriage is just something bad. If you get married because you are weak, because you are not strong enough, this is not the right message that the church should be giving to the people. Marriage is just as good as being celibate. They are both two ways of life, of salvation. You can be married and you reach heavenly kingdom. In fact, and we celebrate Abuna Bshoy Kamil, who was married, and next week we are going to celebrate Father Mikhail Ibrahim, who was married with children. So I want to say that we need to change our idea. Marriage is not something less than being celibate, or if you cannot be celibate, then you might as well get married just to avoid falling in sin, etc. Okay, this is number 3. What's number 4? More saints. So the idea is not just to bring children to life, like procreation, but the idea is to have saints, more saints. And if God gives you children, then it is your responsibility to bring them up in the fear of God and to show them the way of God. This is the point. And finally, which is very important, is from the negative aspect to avoid sin, because some people who cannot practice self-control, then it's, as St. Paul says, it is better to be married than to be burning with indignation. Okay, so instead of being burning with passion, then God gives us a blessed way to express our love through the physical relationship, because it's no longer how to take, but it's how to give. In fact, when we understand this relationship properly, it is a relationship of giving rather than taking. But the most important thing for me, and what I wanted to highlight, is the responsibility. The responsibility. It's not, marriage is not a joke. You don't just marry because this is the next step in life. It is a responsibility from both the man and the wife. It's a responsibility. And if you're not up to the responsibility, it's better not to get married. Because what's the responsibility? The responsibility is to share your life with another. To be able to say, you have to understand that some people get married because they are selfish, right? Marriage is a school of virtues. School of virtues. How? Because you learn how to love, the sacrificial love. You don't love just someone to take. You love someone to give. You share your life with someone, And in that sharing, you have to think of the other, not yourself. Because if every person thinks, what will make me happy, then you will make the other miserable, right? How? If you make your rules, for example, I am the man, and whatever I say goes, that's it. Then what about the other? She's a human being. You have to listen to her. You have to come up with a compromise, reach a compromise, right? You have to listen to her. She's a human being, right? Sometimes you may have to sacrifice. I like to give an example. For example, if someone gets too cold, if the temperature, you want to set the temperature on, let's say 65, this is the temperature you like, but the other likes it on 75. They cannot be happy unless it's warm. Someone wants it to be too cold, someone wants it to be too warm. Now what are you going to do? If everyone if everyone thinks of himself, then he cannot reach compromise. 70 is a good for both, and maybe the one who gets too cold can get a cover, an extra cover. You have to find a way. But if you say of what you like, well, see, before you get married, you can do whatever makes you happy. But once you get married, you have to think of the other. You cannot take a decision without consulting the other, because now it's not I, it's we. We are together. We make the decisions together. So this responsibility, I need you to be aware of, and you need to understand, because marriage is, as I said, a school of virtues. And you get in fact, they used to say, we put the crowns because they are king and queen over their little kingdom, which is their family. But now they added something more. They say the crown here represents what? The cross that you have to carry. It is a cross. It is not an easy life. Why? Because now the easiest thing is what? Divorce, right? What is the divorce percentage in this country? It's reached 70%, which means that 7 out of 10 guarantee are going to get divorced. And they say we love each other so much. If they love each other so much, why do 7 out of 10 get divorced? What kind of love is that? It cannot be the kind of love I'm telling you about. Because if they truly loved each other, they wouldn't get divorced that easily. They will carry the cross of marriage, right? Right? Why do most Orthodox, especially Coptic Orthodox marriages last? Because we get in, we understand that it is a cross that we have to carry. It's not an easy life, well, it's a joke, well, it's a fun life. No, it is a cross that we have to carry. And unless we understand this responsibility, then our marriages will be very weak and will fail. That's why I wanted to highlight to you today the importance of this responsibility before you begin to think or to choose, so that you can choose right and begin to set your mind in the right way, so that when you decide this is what I want, you understand what this decision means. What does it entail? It is a cross, but it is a lovely cross. It's a cross, a joyful cross, just like any cross that we carry, because there is a reward. This is a joyful cross because you love the person, right? And they say something very funny about this kind of cross. They say love is eternal. Love is aim. You cannot explain it. You cannot give a reason. What does this mean? If you ask someone, why do you love your spouse? They will not be able to give an answer, right? They just love the person. You ask God, why do you like us? Why do you love us? Why does God love us? We the sinners, we the weak, we who disobey Him all the time. There's no explanation, right? You can't give a reason for why God loves us. It's not like we are lovable. No, we are not lovable. We are horrible. But you ask God, why do you love us? He will say, for God so loved the world. What does it mean, so loved the world? For no reason. He just loves us. And God gave us the same ability to love without understanding why. So you can love another human being, this kind of love, and you can't explain why. This is the same kind of love that God may give you if you are granted children. You will have this kind of love for your children as well, right? So you try to explain this love, you say, I don't know, but I love this person. This is the godly love. But if love becomes mean, selfish love, then we can no longer call it true love. So you need to love someone to the extent that you are ready to sacrifice, because this is what Christ did for us. He loved us so much to the extent that He was ready to sacrifice His love for us. And St. John says, by this, or actually St. Paul says, in Romans 5:8, by this we know that God loves us. How? Although we are sinners, He loved us and died for us. This is His true love. So this is briefly what I wanted to tell you today. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer your questions. What are the 5 points again? Number 1, spiritual love. Number 2, help. Number 3, procreation. Number 4, more saints. Number 5, prevention or protection from sin. Or, I like what Mr. Tedros said, because it's not like, just to prevent sin. No, it's from the positive aspect, it is truly the holy kind of expressing this love through at every level, right? So you express your love at every level, even at the level of the body. So you give your body to the other, because it becomes her body or his body. Everyone gives his body to the other. So it's no longer taking, it's more giving, right? So this is from the positive way of understanding this. It's no longer selfishness, but it's giving. And if we can live with our partner in this holy love, we resemble the Holy Trinity in their love, Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, who are one, and there is this kind of love that exists among the Holy Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. It is an eternal love between the 3 hypostases of the Holy Trinity. Permits what? Adultery or change of religion? Yeah. No, what I said concerns divorce. Annulment has other reasons. Annulment means that um, there is a reason that makes the marriage annulled to start with or void. There is something that, for example, for example, she has to be at least 16, he has to be at least 18. So if she was 15 at the time of marriage, then the marriage is annulled. Why? Because there is a reason that they broke one of the conditions for marriage, right? There are many reasons, yani, but the annulment is different from divorce. This shouldn't be the case. That's why it's very important. The period of engagement shouldn't be too short, because what's the purpose of engagement is to get to know each other. So if you know that this person is selfish and is, then you can, but at any rate, your responsibility is to continue to give, and you will at this point consider that this is a cross that you have to carry. It's an extra cross that you're always giving but you're never taking, right? But it should work both ways. Well, once you get married, then you become one. Before, no, you are allowed. Before you got married, then you are allowed to say, well, I don't think we are compatible with one another, and then God bless you, you go, may you find someone else, and you will find someone else for yourself. That's it. But once you get married, you become one. And then the gospel we read in the wedding ceremony, they become one flesh. What God has joined together, let no man separate. You can't separate. معايا يا حبيبي انت؟ مش انت سألت السؤال؟ مش تسمع الانسر؟ yeah. Love relationship. I have no experience. يعني قصدك someone, one loves and one hates, or sometimes they love and sometimes يعني sometimes they are good and then sometimes they are fight. Fighting is the spice of love of the life. Huh? You have to put some spices in the food. They cannot avoid disagreement. Angels, you expect طبعا fighting, but when it reaches certain point, then it's too much. But normally, fighting is part of life. يعني. Disagreements are right. They work out, especially in the beginning, but they should work out their differences as time goes by. Mm. You have to open your ears and listen to what people tell you. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that when someone is in this kind of relationship, they have to open their ears to the comments of their friends or their family that truly love them and want to advise them, يعني giving them good advice that be careful, there are red flags in this relationship, you should be careful. But you said love is blind. Pope Shenouda used to say, love is not blind, love sees with one eye, which is the good eye. Right? يقول لك الحب مش أعمى، الحب أعور. بالعربي لو تفهموها يعني. You know أعور؟ أعور يعني can see with one eye. So they close their eye on the bad things and open it to the good things, so they only see the good in this person. This is a problem really with some people who are madly in love, but I'm not talking about this kind of love, because this is love is irrational. Those who love each other and they are compatible with one another, but you cannot explain love, any kind of love. There's no explanation for it, right? But you're specifically talking about two people who are different, maybe someone who is in an abusive relationship even, but they can't see that. This happens a lot, unfortunately. This is not what we're talking about now. You can only give advice, but you can never force. And if they're grown-ups, and what can you do? Any person should live with dignity, should not be abused, and anyone who is in an abusive relationship, the church supports the victim, because we do not condone this kind of relationship, right? But some people, out of fear, they're so scared, and they don't know what to do, and they don't want to lose what they have. They just accept this abusive relationship, which is wrong. It's not right. They need counseling, and they need interference with some professional people to help them go back on the right track. If you can't, get someone older or someone with authority like Abuna to help. You can only help to an extent. Yeah, at one point you just have to say, there's nothing more I can say, and I'll pray for you. Very well. Is our time up? Any more questions? Wallah, you're good. Good. Naam? That before marriage or after marriage? Huh? After marriage or before marriage? Before marriage, they shouldn't get married. If that's a very nice way to look at. That's very encouraging. يا عم. It's not the end of love. It is the end of one kind of love. Because after marriage, see, why does the church say we are now betrothed to Christ, right? Doesn't say we are married to Christ, right? He is the groom, right? But we don't say we are married to him. You understand why? Because we are betrothed to him. This is when the love is the most intense. After marriage, you get into the real life and the responsibilities, children especially, etc. But it changes from one kind of love to another kind of love, but the love remains forever طبعا. But if they are engaged and there is love from one side, not the other, then why should they get married? If one loves a lot and the other doesn't love, doesn't make sense. When you get married, you should be convinced 100% that this is the right person. If there are red flags, then you should reconsider taking that serious step. Red flags means more problems, because usually more problems are discovered after marriage, not before marriage. Like it's always gets worse after, not sometimes you think, oh, you know, this problem is going to disappear after we get married. No, doesn't happen. Because after you get married, you discover things about the other that you didn't know before, right? So okay, God bless you. كل سنة وانتم طيبين. Hope to always see you in good health, and just remember what I told you today as you prepare yourselves for your life partners. Finally, O Lord, make us all worthy to pray thank you and say, Our Father who art in heaven. The love of God the Father and the peace of
Guys, if you didn't get a chance to take this great grace, you just go take a blessing and say thank you.
عايز اقول لكم حاجة تانية before you leave that I forgot to say. Listen, this is a very important point that I forgot to tell you. But listen to it. When you choose a person, then as far as you are concerned, يعني if I'm talking to my sons here, the person you choose is the most beautiful girl on the face of the earth. To you, she is the most. There's no other girl that's as beautiful as her. Because if you think of others as being more beautiful, then go marry the other, right? But to you, because once you get married to her, you cannot look at another. That's it. That is it. She is it. Don't look at another. Same thing here. When you choose a person, then there's only one man in this universe. It's your husband. Cannot look at anyone else. This is very important as a principle in marriage. Because you will hurt, St. John Chrysostom said, if you look at another woman, you will hurt both your wife, because you're looking at another, and the one you're looking at in a lustful way. Right? Because you're looking to her in a lustful way. So when you choose to you, this is the most beautiful girl, and there's no other like her. If you don't think this way, don't marry her. If you keep comparing her with others, it's not fair. Because she deserves all your love. Do you understand? She deserves all your love, all your attention. You cannot be with her and say, تقول لها شوفي البت دي حلوة. ايه ده? You cannot do that, right? She is the one, that's it. Is this clear? This is very important, and I have to write my points so I don't forget anything. But I'm thankful to God that I remembered before you left. Naam? لازم تختار صح من الأول. That's why it's very important. That choice is very important. To choose right. Take your time to make the right choice. That's it.
Hey guys, we have a quick break until 2:30. So there's snacks and tea and beverages downstairs. In the basement there's coffee also. But we need you to be back here at 2:30. So just be back at 2:30 for the lecture with Father Moises Boukhari.